Okay, I'm going to keep it down to only 3 shows I'm talking about this week. Let's start with The Flash. I very much enjoyed The Flash. At the very beginning, you see Iris basically dealing with the secret that she now knows about Barry. She's conflicted because it's a part of her that's probably glad that she knows now, and like she said, this all makes sense. She's surprised she hasn't figured it out by now. I am too. But she's also mad. She's mad at Barry for keeping it from her. She's mad that basically everybody's been keeping it from her, including her father, and their reasons for it. And this kind of, the way how I felt about Iris in this episode kind of describes what I think of her overall. Some moments I really like her. I understand her point of view, where she's coming from, why she feels the way that she feels, but then there's other times where I want to smack her and say, what the fuck are you doing? So let's talk about this for a little bit. She goes right into Star Labs, and obviously Barry is there in costume, so if she didn't know before, she knows now, right? But she tells Barry, I've known. They have a conversation about it. Doesn't quite go as well as it should have, but it's also not like terrible. She's not up and yelling, at least. I did very much enjoy Caitlin and Cisco debating on whether or not they should be listening to it, if it's their business to be listening. And when Iris left the room, the way how they were just like, oh yeah, Cisco picks up the phone and he's like, yeah, so if you can have those shipments for those computers, it's just like, what? Really? I don't know. Cisco very much made me laugh in this episode. I like him. I think he's funny. Call me crazy. Seeing Joe West go to apologize to Iris, I think was needed also. Sure, that conversation didn't go as well either. But it was one of those situations where in this scene, I understood both points of view. I understand Joe for wanting to keep this from her, to protect her, and think that her getting involved would be dangerous. But then when Iris explained and said, look, don't you think me knowing this would have kept me safe instead of blindly going around and not knowing anything of what could happen to me? And when she said that, I said, okay, that's a good point. I mean, like, at least you're making sense in your argument. So again, I like that. Harrison Wells still has Eddie tied up, which is kind of creepy. I don't know what he has planned for him. I don't know why he took him. Especially when he started to describe how Eddie is the only Thawne of the family who is a failure and hasn't done anything in life, he's forgotten about. It makes you go like, well, it's not like he needs Eddie for anything, right? If he doesn't go off and become something big, then, well, what now? I mean, sure, maybe he needs him alive because of the whole descendants thing. Maybe he can't. Maybe, like, Eddie being alive will make Wells be alive. I don't know exactly how they're related, how that works. But that's my only guess, because I don't know why Wells is keeping Eddie locked up like this. Now, when we get to the point where we see this person going around wearing the mask and he's attacking all these different stations, I didn't know who this was. I was definitely shocked that General Ealing was the guy under the mask, and the fact that he was being mind controlled by Grodd. Not only does this make Grodd that much more scary, but just, seeing somebody not knowing what they're doing, not in control of what he's doing, the fact that it was this general character who we haven't seen for a little while, what a way to come back into the episode. And that's where we have Grodd kidnapping Joe. Takes him up into the sewers, breaks his ribs. It was very creepy when he was making Joe put the gun towards himself. I was really afraid that Joe might die in this episode. It seemed like it was going to happen. Grodd was ginormous. He was huge. Obviously, it's CGI, But I thought for the most part he looked great. Like when he's in the sewers and it's really dark and you kind of see him in the shadows, but and then you see his face and he's roaring and he's angry. I think he looks great. I'm like, holy crap, this is pretty fucking awesome for a TV show, for a CW show. This effects is awesome. The fight that he has with Flash, I loved. There's a moment where he grabs him by the neck and lifts him up. And somebody on Facebook posted like a side-by-side of that image along with a post from the comic books of Grodd picking Flash up with the same like position and pose. Like, great stuff. I loved it. I even loved how Barry was trying to fight off the mind-controlling thing from Grodd. So not only is Grodd a physical threat, a physical outmatch for Flash, but he was getting in his head too. It makes him that much more scary. I liked Cisco making the Planet of the Apes references because I almost didn't think too much about the fact that Grodd does remind me a lot of Planet of the Apes, the Caesar character. I mean, I don't know which came first. I'm assuming Planet of the Apes did. So if this was inspired by that, I don't care. It's still a cool character. The moment where, because I said that Iris was also annoying me. The moment where after her father gets kidnapped, she's in the labs with them. And she gets angry, which is probably understandable. But she says something to the effect of, you guys have all of this technology and powers and you can't even save my dad? And I felt like saying, you bitch, you have no idea what this must be like for them to deal with a fucking meta gorilla and just any of the villains of the week that you could probably throw in there. It's like, this shit isn't easy. Just because Barry has these powers doesn't mean that all of these jobs are going to be easy. I couldn't believe how she came off. I get it. She was upset, high emotions. Maybe they kind of won it back when she was talking to Barry in his earpiece, and she basically talked him through it, got him to fight out of it and fight Grodd. So, okay, fine. She's his inspiration. I kind of like that. The moment when Grodd, though, jumped in front of the train and seemingly got hit by the train, I thought they killed him. I was pissed! I said, what the fuck? I know it's going to be hard to defeat Grodd in some way, so I guess it makes sense that it looks like Grodd actually sort of defeated himself. But still, it just looked like he died so convincingly that I was upset. I was like, wow, we're already done with Grodd in the first season. Damn it. Of course, later on, though, we see him out on the streets climbing that building. That moment, you could tell the CGI was a little rough. I mean, I guess bringing Grodd out into the big city, or maybe because it's lighter out, the CGI is a little bit more noticeable, but still, I can't really complain too much. It still looked awesome. I'm going to be a little confused, though. If Grodd is out there in the open, in the city, in the streets, and he's that fucking big, and he's that powerful with his mind controlling, he can't just disappear, right? I mean, judging from the previews, it doesn't look like Grodd's going to be there in the next episode. And since the finale is coming up, it seems like we're not going to see him at all until, next season? I don't know how he stays hidden. I don't know how he stays, nobody's going to see this big, huge gorilla running around in the city, climbing buildings. Okay, fine, I guess I'll just have to take their word for it. But at least they kept him alive. At least that happened. So, I really enjoyed the episode. I did. The whole Iris, she kind of admitted that she had feelings for Barry, but at least she didn't just completely forget about Eddie, because he's still missing. For all she knows, he's being tortured somewhere. He's not being tortured. It's not really all that bad. He's not being fed. But still, at least she didn't just jump into the arms of Barry. I don't know where the relationship is going to go now. So far, none of this timeline, the future timeline, has been crazy altered, which is weird because now that these characters are finding out stuff about the future, how has the future not changed? Anyway, Wells telling Eddie that he's not going to get with Iris, and that this is this and that. It's like, well, who knows? Maybe Eddie, again, his character's just so not important that it doesn't matter what he knows. Anyways, though, we have 2 episodes left with The Flash. I love it. I love it! Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This episode begins with, we see 1 year ago, Patton Oswalt. You see him in his bed with his Star Wars blankets and pillows, and I get it, Disney, you own Star Wars and Marvel, so cross-promoting, I don't mind it. I guess I just don't really care about the Patton Oswalt character anymore. At first, I thought he was funny. At first, I liked him being on the show. And sure, you could say we haven't seen him in a while, so that's true. But the whole multiple twin sets or quadruplets or however many brothers he has, I think that joke has been run to the ground too much. It doesn't make me laugh anymore. And not only that, it's so absurd. There's so many brothers that I just am like, this is too over the top, even for a Marvel universe. I can't get into it anymore. But at least they showed a little bit of what Coulson was doing, I guess, behind everyone's back. Patton Oswalt knew about it, apparently. But everything that went on with Hydra, he was keeping tabs on Gonzalez, which was nice to see. Back into the present, though, Raina is using her visions. And I knew this would happen. I'm just surprised it happened this quick, but the season's almost over, so they had to rush it a little bit. She was using her visions, which, I mean, some of them were true. Obviously, she was right about the Ultron vision last week, but she's been telling people, not only the other people in this afterlife, about certain things that she was probably lying about to try to gain their trust and get them to look up to her. But she tells Gordon that she sees this whole place being overtaken by S.H.I.E.L.D. And, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious she was lying, especially when she tried to get Gordon to get her to take this place over. And at first it seemed like Gordon was going along with it, but thank God he was smart enough to tell Sky's mom, and they shut Raina out. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with her now, but still, I like the fact that he didn't just blindly follow Raina like that. Before that, though, the moment where they went onto the S.H.I.E.L.D. ship and they were teleporting in there, they found the red door that holds Graviton! Graviton, a character that they set up with Dr. Franklin Hall, I believe, in episode 3 of season 1. So it's been almost 2 full seasons since we've done anything with this fucking character. Sure, I think in the finale of season 1 they showed the tube with the black CGI stuff in it. So, okay, we've seen it one other time, but still, they've done nothing with this fucking character. Why introduce him so early on to just do nothing with him? You could say that he's a really powerful villain. In the comic books, what he can do, his abilities are so endless that it would be hard to do him justice on the show, that it wouldn't make sense for only S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to go after him. He's probably a villain that's suitable for Iron Man, Captain America, the Avengers. So maybe that's what the case is. But still, if that's the case, then don't put him on the show just to do nothing with him, to keep him in the background. Just, I don't know. That, for some reason, really pisses me off because I think he's an interesting character, interesting villain. And I would have liked for them to have done something with him, but that's not the case, clearly. Lincoln wakes up from his coma, whatever the hell was going on. Skye was there with him. And the way how Skye, they said she was sitting there next to his bed for all that time, I said, fuck, she's falling in love with this fucking guy. Great. That's what we need, is for not only this romance, but this forced, completely out of nowhere romance between Skye and this guy. Okay, fine. I didn't mean to rhyme right there, but I did. So he tells Skye that S.H.I.E.L.D. can't be trusted. That puts the thoughts in her head about, I guess it's setting up more so for next week. Which side is she on? Is she going to go with her family, who she name dropped as the Inhumans, which was very cool, or her friends and people who have become and been her family for the last couple of years? S.H.I.E.L.D. She's still a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, which I'm glad they addressed and brought up here, because now it is like, what do you do with her? I guess she's still trying to figure it out. Melinda May, I'm very upset with Melinda May right now. I don't like that she's going against Coulson. I don't. Whatever her reasons are, I'm not even saying she's completely in the wrong for her reasons, but to turn on Coulson and go with Gonzalez, who she doesn't really know at all, and the way how he talks about people with powers, I mean, he screams Senator Kelly from the X-Men universe, who is just this high authority guy who hates all mutants and is willing to put them all away. Gonzalez, that's the feeling I get from him, the way how he talks about them. I don't know how or why May thinks that he's the most objective person to send in to this afterlife place to have this conversation with Sky's mom to try to mend the fences. I don't get it. She outvoted him. At least Coulson took it like a champ, and he said, okay, fine, whatever. I mean, he is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., by the way, but he's letting it go to a vote. He's just letting them, I guess he doesn't want to piss them off. But he could have overwritten them and said, fuck you, I'm going anyways. In retrospect, though, I guess it's good that Coulson didn't go. Still, I don't like it. Even Mac left S.H.I.E.L.D. The gall of Mac to go into Coulson's office and basically say, look, I don't trust you. You have alien DNA in you, and as long as you're the director in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't want any part of it. How does Coulson shake this guy's hand? And, I mean, I get it's out of respect, and he's been there for 13 years, they say, but that's pretty abrupt for Mac to do. You know, he says he, too, had his own experience with alien DNA, so that's why it's a personal thing. He knows firsthand, that this can't be trusted. But it's funny that he seems to be okay with himself. He never once says, oh, well, there could still be something wrong with me. Like, if he was asking those questions about himself, and he was afraid of himself, one day, someday, breaking out and going crazy again, okay, fine, but for him to project all of this onto Coulson, if Mac can be okay after that, then I think Coulson can be okay after that. But whatever, Mac is gone. Agent 33 pretended to be Melinda May to get Bobby onto the ship, and she changed courses and basically tricked her. They had a nice fight, which was cool, but as soon as Bobby got off the plane, she gets shot by Ward. And, I mean, I'm not going to say that I thought Bobby died, but it was pretty convincing that she got shot. And then even the last scene of the episode where Ward, shot her, 3 more times. I'm assuming it's an icer. It has to be an icer because he even says to Agent 33, we're not going to kill her yet. They still have something to do. It's one of those TV show things where it's like, it doesn't really make sense why he doesn't kill her right here and now. The real reason why he doesn't kill her is because he's not supposed to kill her, or because the character's not supposed to die yet. So it's contrived. It bothers me a little bit. It kind of takes me out of the moment a little bit. But still, I don't know where they're going. I kind of like that Ward was bullshitting last week, and that he really does have a plan, some sinister plan with this woman. So we'll see what happens with that. The end of the episode, though, shocked me. Completely shocked me. All of the build-up of Sky's father willing to give himself over to S.H.I.E.L.D. for his crimes. I mean, I was totally fucking buying this. I don't know if he knew what Sky's mom had planned. I don't know how many people know what Sky's mom has planned. Even Gordon. She might be doing this completely on her own. She has the meeting with Gonzalez, and it seems like it's going pretty well. Gonzalez even gives her something that belonged to her that she was supposed to give this guy but never had it. And it seemed like it was emotionally winning her over. I thought this was going well. I thought I was wrong, and that Gonzalez might have been the right guy for the job, and maybe I was wrong about him. Maybe, right? But no, before we even get that far, Sky's mom basically infects him with whatever the Inhuman dust thingy is that turns you into Inhuman. But if you don't have the DNA to become Inhuman, it will kill you. Like Triplet. So basically that's what happens to Gonzalez. Gonzalez dies, he turns to a stone and dies. And then Sky's mom shoots herself twice in the shoulder, but shoots herself, and then comes out of the place and says, "He tried to kill me, this means war." And judging from the previews, war happens. Wow, what a twist. What a twist. Wasn't expecting it. I love in the preview Sky having that face-off with May and using her powers on her. It makes it seem like she's made her choice. And I don't know how anyone can figure out that Sky's mom was lying. I mean, maybe S.H.I.E.L.D. would think so, but even them being so conflicted about Gonzalez, like Coulson, and Bobby had a moment, but Bobby's off doing her own thing, I guess. So maybe nobody else will question Gonzalez and whether or not he really tried to start a war with them. This is just a crazy situation. We have S.H.I.E.L.D. agents versus Inhumans on a TV show. As much as I was sort of dogging this last week and saying that the show doesn't feel important, this war, if it goes where it looks like it's going, this is a big, huge level of importance. I will say, though, I guess if I had to have any sorts of overall criticisms, this is the aftermath of the Avengers movie. And honestly, besides the one line of Gonzalez bringing up how this is almost like the Avengers letting Tony Stark create Ultron, which that analogy really doesn't make any fucking sense. The Avengers didn't let Tony Stark make Ultron. They didn't know he was making Ultron. Only Bruce Banner knew, because he helped him. But nobody else knew about it. Stark did it all on his own. Now maybe he just means that, like, oh, well, the government, or just the fact that Stark was capable of making that on his own. Maybe that's what he means. Maybe he has a point there. But still, besides that line, this episode does not feel like an aftermath of the Avengers episode. It doesn't. It doesn't. Self-contained, though, I do think it was a good episode. I am very much looking forward to the finale next week. A 2-hour finale. There you go. Last but not least, we have Arrow. Arrow happened. This episode, I am just baffled by this episode. And not necessarily in a bad way. My mind is racing after this. We see at the very beginning, Diggle is chasing down this guy on the street. And it's a trap. I mean, it's a double-sided trap, because the guy thinks he's luring Diggle to his gang to be killed, and Diggle really wanted to get to the gang so that him and Black Canary can stop them. Laurel does have her canary cry, the more official canary cry. I mean, sure, it's not her with abilities, but there are comics of Black Canary having the device around her neck. I like it. It is a little silly when you see her screaming, but, like, she's obviously not screaming. Like, her mouth is wide open, but she's not screaming. So it's just like, does she just pretend to scream and then that comes out? Or is she screaming and then her volume, like her level of vibrations in her throat is what activates the device? I don't know. I wish I could hear her scream also so it doesn't look as goofy. I'm nitpicking, I know. Speaking of nitpicking, though, I have to say that Diggle looks kind of silly going out there fighting crime without a fucking costume. I know they brought it up 1 or 2 episodes ago where Felicity said he should be wearing a mask or something, and he laughed at that and said not happening. Just because you address it and you bring it up doesn't mean that's still not a problem. Diggle, with a wife and baby at home, he's going out and he's fighting crime, not giving a shit that his identity is completely exposed right now. I mean, we're not killing these people. We're just getting them locked up or whatever. You can't put him in the hospital, apparently. That's bad. But, because, I mean, I'm pretty sure Oliver shooting arrows into people wasn't putting them in the hospital. But anyways, I don't understand why he won't at least wear some type of mask. There was like 1 or 2 episodes where he wore a ski mask. And, you know, he looked like a bank robber, but still, it was concealing his identity. But no, he's running around with no mask, no big deal, whatever. Thea leaves Starling to be with Roy. And this was something that I liked because I liked them as a couple. They broke up way too soon, in my opinion. So it was nice seeing them together. They slept together. And Roy leaving her at the end of the episode, it does feel like it's like, okay, yet again, they have to be split up. But the reason made complete sense. You know, Roy doesn't want this life for her. But being on the run, this isn't the life that Oliver sacrificed himself for her for. I totally got that. He's right. Her having his red costume, though, I don't know what that means. Like, is she going to put that on? We saw her wearing a hood last week with a bow and arrow, which was pretty fucking awesome. But I don't know what's going to happen with her now. She doesn't even really know what's going on as far as Oliver. And before we get there, there's a moment where Felicity goes to see Ray Palmer, and he says to her, like, look, you know, even though it's awkward and I know that you're upset about Oliver, we're still friends. I'm still here for you. That was a nice moment, right? But then what does he do right after that? He gets her to sign a piece of paper, and she just blindly signs it without, I mean, she says, hey, what's this for? And he's like, oh, it's just some legal paperwork, no big deal. And she just says, okay, and signs it. And then we see that it's to transfer ownership of the company to him. Oops! Maybe Felicity should start reading the fine print. Or how about reading the contract at all? I get it, she's upset. She is. She's probably not even close to thinking straight, and trusting Ray made sense at the moment. So I don't really blame her. It's just kind of funny. You know, I mean, I'm not saying she's blonde, so she did something dumb. I'm just saying she's going to regret this at some point. But now we get to the point where Oliver, you know, Roz, they're talking about the marriage with him and Nessa, and Oliver says he has to go for a walk, clear his head, get some air. And when he goes out there, some looks like a league member attacks him, takes off his mask, and it's Malcolm. And Oliver starts talking to him as Oliver. And I'm like, holy fuck, I literally said out loud while watching this, he was pretending this whole time? You gotta be fucking kidding me. I could not fathom that he was faking that. Maybe at the end of the day it makes more sense that he was faking it, because I didn't understand the mind control aspect. I didn't understand how quick it was, and it seemed too easy to turn Oliver that quick. So at the end of the day, it does make sense that Oliver was faking it. But just everything that he did, I don't blame Diggle, especially, more so than anyone really. He's the only one who has full reason to be pissed at Oliver for kidnapping his wife. Who knows what could have happened to his baby if Oliver couldn't control like one of the league members or something that went in there. It's a crazy situation. I get why Oliver is doing it, I guess. I'd like to think, though, like, I can't help but think, because of Ra's al Ghul being in this story, what would Batman do? Would Batman join the League and pretend to be this person? No, we've seen Batman countless times take the fight right to Ra's and beat him. I get it, this is something completely different. Oliver's not Batman, so I can't think like that. I just my mind was doing backspins when I saw that Oliver has been faking this whole time. Because Stephen Amell is a great actor. He had me convinced that that person last week was not Oliver Queen. That he was Al Sahim, or whatever the fuck the name is, and that he was gone, and that he was cold and heartless, and he didn't know those people, his friends. And when he almost killed Diggle, like, would he have killed Diggle if Thea didn't show up there? Like, we don't know. We don't know. But Malcolm comes clean and tells the group what's really going on. And they're beyond pissed between not trusting him, not believing him. I love that Laurel is still pissed at him for having her sister killed. We don't talk about this enough. But Malcolm is the reason why Sarah is dead. And I guess Laurel is the only one who's willing to bring that up. And remember that. There's a whole lot of reasons why this group shouldn't trust Malcolm. Oliver too, but I guess Oliver is very desperate. And he tells them because basically the city is going to be under attack by this drug, this thing that Katana, I guess I can call her now, because she was in full costume tonight. She's very aware of, and that's where you get to the end, right? Where they go there, they have a nice fight with a bunch of League members, and they do pretty well. They're killing a lot of them. I loved the moment where Felicity, she was about to be attacked by an assassin, so she threw the computer that she had, the little device that she had. She threw it at him, it hit him in the throat, and he like grabbed his throat and then keeled over, and she had this look on her face like, yeah, badass. And then you see his back shot with an arrow. And Malcolm killed him from behind with an arrow. And Felicity says, oh, that actually makes more sense. It's just, I don't know, that really made me laugh. Probably the funniest moment of the episode. And then they get surrounded by Roz and Oliver and the rest of the League, and they surrender. And Oliver has a moment where he takes Diggle, brings him aside alone, and tries to talk to him and explain to him. And Diggle's pissed. And again, I understand. Oliver, it's like, I want to sympathize with Oliver. I do sympathize with Oliver. This is a fucking horrible situation to be in. But, fuck. He should have told Diggle. If nobody else in the group, Diggle has been there, not since day 1, but since like day 3, right? I mean, Diggle has been there through everything. It's tough. Speaking of tough, the end of the episode, Malcolm just fucking rats Oliver out like a fucking little shit that he is. You know, don't get me wrong, I like John Bowerman, I like the actor, but this character, it's almost like they've been trying to redeem him through Thea and that relationship, but it's like I couldn't forgive him for all these other reasons, and then he goes and does this. Completely fucks the whole plan up. What, to save his own ass? Like, fuck you, dude, you know? So then, what? So now Oliver has to prove to Roz that he's straight, that he's legit. So they drop the drug into the cell where our group is. Diggle, Felicity, Laurel, Ray, Malcolm's in there too, and they all die from the drug while Oliver is marrying Nessa. Commercials suck. Previews suck. Because literally right after that happens, and I'm having this like, this can't be happening, but it's happening. Like, they can't really be dying, but it looks like they're dying. They show the previews to next week, and we see the whole group is alive and fine and well. Diggle, Felicity, we see them alive. Why would you do that? Why would you put that in the commercial? It's like, subconsciously, I know they're not dead, really, but still, you did a fucking awesome job convincing me that it's happening, or I'm sitting there going like, okay, what's really going on here? Almost like the Oliver turning thing. And then they just put that in the commercial, and it just completely ruins it. Whatever, though, I shouldn't take that away from the episode. I don't know if it sounded like I liked this episode. I don't know if it sounded like I was mad or anything. I guess I just have my complaints here and there, but still, I liked the episode. I did. I like Arrow. I've liked the season. But just for some reason, I felt like I had a lot to complain about here. Weird. I don't know how to explain that. But I did like it. I think. Finale is next week. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing just how the hell does this League of Assassins thing get wrapped up. I have no idea. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of any or all of these 3 shows? What did you think of them? Like, comment, subscribe. Later!